Well, stranger than science. Oh, hey, Monty. That's you act like you don't have any water. You have fresh water right over there, buddy. Everyone say hello to Monty. Okay, you're famous now. Okay, there you go, buddy. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. No, Monty. There you go. Good boy. How's everyone doing? Welcome to another Thursday night live horror reading. Let's see. Alan's here. Kelly. Spooky Dad, hello. You've been in here before, I think. If you're somebody you know, I'm sorry. I have a hard time remembering people's code names, matching it up with their real names. Scott Thomas, Suzanne, and Kim. Yes, Monty is here as well. And yeah, it's been a little while. I did no shows last week except for the Coffin Moon Keith Rawson show last Thursday in the middle of the week, which I think most of you were at work for that. Hey, Mark. Hey, Scott. I got there are several messages. There are more, but I'm just gonna give you the gist of a couple messages that I received just in the last day or so here. And I'm not gonna mention any names, but I want this to come out right because I'm not patting myself on the back and, you know, now you guys can pat me on the back too. It's not like that, but it feels good knowing that this community is a refuge for people. As I wrote in the Patreon post last night, it's a crazy world out there right now, or really maybe it's always been that way. It has to one degree or another, right? And it's nice to have a place where everybody knows your name, so to speak, and to get away. Scott is asking after Scout. Keith Rawson is blowing up. I don't know what that means. Um, does that mean he's a popular writer? I think he is. Anyway, how is Scout? Scout is great. She was just in here. She likes to come into the bookhouse sometimes now. I thought she was going to be here for this show, but she decided to go back outside. Uh, as you guys know, a couple weeks ago, I couldn't find her for almost the whole day, and she was trapped in a critter trap next door. And she wasn't hurt or anything, but by the time Danielle and I found her, she had been, without food and water in the hot sun all day or in the heat all day. But yes, she's good. Then I thought it was a repeat today, actually, because I didn't see her until about 5. And usually she comes out for breakfast with the other 3 kittens. I don't know what she was doing, but she showed up for dinner, so all is well. So she's so cute. Hey, Darren. Anyway, someone wrote me that I'm going to be real vague here, but they said that speaking to me, I often underestimate the power you have on people's lives with your podcast community. And they talked about how it just blew me away that their life has changed because of this community. And that's not just me, that's all of you guys too. And then someone else posted on last night's Patreon message that, let me find it here. Speaking of depression, and I see the Easing community as a sort of safe place on an increasingly hostile net. So I'm glad. I'm glad. I hope you guys all see it that way. So what are we going to do tonight? Well, first of all, am I going to be here Thursday night? Yes. absolutely. And on Sunday as well, as usual with Michael Wehunt. And then, what is it? Next, this is really interesting. I think we're all fans of the film In the Mouth of Madness. Well, Sutter Kane, wink wink, finally wrote the novel In the Mouth of Madness. Hey, what? Hey, dude. And I'm going to speak with the publisher this coming Wednesday. I'm sorry. Yeah, this coming Wednesday, October the 1st. So that would be 8 days from now. And yeah, interview with the publisher of In the Mouth of Madness by Sutter Kane. And I've been reading it. It's really good. It could have been a letdown, but so far it is not. I haven't finished it yet. So anyway, yes. Hey, Chaz. So we have some fun things coming up, and then Nadia Bolkin on the 5th. Love Nadia. So so yeah, I thought we'd do one or two more of these tonight, Stranger Than Science, and I thought I would read a little creepy pasta. Some kind of creepy, man. So if you're new, or if you surfed in here and you want to know what the hell this is, I read horror stories live every Tuesday night. And on Thursday nights, we talk about horror and weird fiction and life in general. Um, oh, good, you got. Kim says I scored a copy of Stranger Than Science a week or so ago. Yeah, take it with a huge grain of salt, obviously, but man, it's it's fun to read. Now you got to imagine a little 9-year-old Mike Davis coming across this at DAV and reading it, and I was just, this is awesome, you know. And I thought it was all true at the time, of course. This would have been way back in, well, about 1980 or so. And the book was published in 57, I think. So it was old even then. Hey, Marianne. So, like I said, if we're lucky, I'll find a couple of good creepy pastas to read. And if we're really lucky, I'll find some bad ones that we can make fun of. Yes, Kelly, it is all true. Every single story in this is true. Astonishing stories of strange events. And it even says on the cover, all authentic, all absolutely true. So that must be the case, right? When did this get published? I think I need more light. 1959. I was close. So, dun dun dun. This creepypasta is called The Simplicity of It All. And I think it's terrible. So this will be fun. You are taking a shower. The end. No. It's not the type of shower you take before a job interview. Maybe aiming for your cleanliness to impress somebody or someone supposedly worthy of impressing. Nor is it the type of shower you take after a long workout at the gym or after a jog or after whatever it is that applies to you. Yeah, that's some stellar wordsmithing. No, you're in your bathroom right now, standing under the soothing beam of hot water with wisps of steam spiraling off of your back because you've got nothing better to do tonight. And you like that squeaky clean feeling before hitting the hay. And man, the sentence goes on and on. And although this isn't your first shower today, at least you can sleep easy, knowing you're cleansed of the day's many stresses. Soap, shampoo, it's all there, but you don't so much as touch it. For now, you're just letting the water steam, filter through your pores and enjoying the simplicity of it all. The lights go out. Startled, your feet squeal on the floor of the shower and you pause to make sure the sound was from your own. Yes, I'm reading that correctly. You pause to make sure the sound was from your own. Period. The sound of water hitting the floor in the dark. Darren says, at least it is getting dark here in San Diego. It usually is light out when you do your podcast at first. Yeah, during the summer, I'm sure that's true, Darren. And then as we're getting later in the year, gosh, I remember, as you guys know, I was born in down here in Texas in a suburb of Fort Worth, way back in the ancient days of 1971. And when I was 6, my parents moved up to Iowa. Now, the list of things that I hated about that life change uh, is huge, but there were a couple of good things, and that is I immediately, even at 6, discovered how much I loved the weather. You know, especially as the year went on. I mean, Halloween in Texas, it's still warm, but Halloween in Iowa, that was hugely different. I remember one experience I had. I talked about one of those first experiences in the introduction to Autumn Cthulhu, but you can read that one for yourself. Another one I remember, it was early winter, it was December, and we had only been there a few months, I believe. We moved in August of 77. And I remember being in our dining room by myself at 5:30 one weeknight. And it was snowing and it was dark as hell at 5:30. I mean, not only was it December up north, but it was huge cloud cover. And I remember thinking, even at 5:30, it could be midnight out. I had pretty much that thought at 6 years old, and the other part of that thought was that I loved it. So yeah, Darren, I said all that to say atmosphere is important, right? For these spooky stories. All right, so we paused to make sure the sound was from our own. Period. Scott, I hope you're taking notes, man. You can learn how to write better. The sound of water hitting the floor in the dark. You feel as if you're not alone in the room, which is impossible because you're the only one in the house. The sound of the switch had been unmistakable. Yeah, I bet it is, Mark. I'm jealous, especially since I'm back down in Texas right now. Last 15 years. You stay under the water, your one and only landmark. Watermark? Landmark? Feeling around, your hands meet the slippery shower tiles, and you feel like a mime trapped in a blank box as you fumble for the adjacent wall, then grab the curtain. Finally, something real, something you can touch that's now in front of you and will stay static as you reclaim your bearings. Just don't get me started on what's wrong with all those sentences. Outside of the shower, something starts choking. You abruptly stop breathing, strain to hear. It's a gut-wrenching cough that wheezes in and out, and your hand freezes. before recoiling back to your torso in shock. And in the middle of the bathwater rain, noisily splashing by your feet, the bathwater rain, you hear its footsteps inching closer as it struggles to breathe. The thump of pads on the floor stepping closer. You can do nothing but press your back against the wet wall behind you in paralysis, to the point where the sounds are less than a foot away from where you remember the curtain to be, comma, at your own eye level. That's when the lights come on and the choking stops. You shut off the water, all is quiet, and you look to either side just in case. Remembering all the horror movies you've seen in your entire life at this moment. All of them? Not a sound except the gurgling of the drain at your toes, sucking down the last of the water calmly. It's gurgling calmly, like it had all been in your head and none of it had happened. You're standing there, dripping wet and naked. No shit. In the shower, you're naked. When you realize you've got to step out and meet whatever's there, waiting on the other side of the curtain. That was freaking awful. That was just awful. That's the end of that. Oh man, that's that's bloody awful. Here's one that I think has been told and retold by a bunch of different people. It's called The Bad Dream. And I actually like this one a lot. That AI is getting good. Daddy, I had a bad dream. Why are all these in the second person? Okay. Daddy, I had a bad dream. You blink your eyes and pull up on your elbows. Pull up on your elbows. Okay. Your clock glows red in the darkness. It's 3:23. Do you want to climb into bed and tell me about it? No, Daddy. The oddness of the situation wakes you up more fully. You can barely make out your daughter's pale form in the darkness of your room. Why not, sweetie? Because in my dream, when I told you about the dream, the thing wearing mommy's skin sat up. For a moment, you feel paralyzed. You can't take your eyes off of your daughter. Then the covers behind you begin to shift. The end. Writing aside, yeah, that's what I was thinking too, Kim. Writing aside, that one's not too bad. That one's okay. I mean, the first time or two that you read it, I guess. See if we can find a good creepy pasta. I have a writer friend who I will not name, and he can't stand creepy pasta because I he thinks sometimes they rip him off somewhat, and I don't think he's wrong. All right. This one is titled Everlasting Darkness. It happens every night the minute before midnight. Okay, I don't know about that writing, but we'll continue. I feel its slimy tendrils swirling in the air at the foot of my bed. I want to scream, but absolute fear paralyzes me. I close my eyes and wait for the things to slip under my blanket and try to pull me off. They always slip off, though, at the last moment where my body is teetering at the edge of the bed. Control of my body slowly returns, and I crawl back up my bed, holding back sobs so I don't bother the other tenants. I remember the first time it happened to me. Okay, we did not find a good one, but I'll finish this. I had spent the whole day thinking about girl. That's what it says. I had spent the whole day thinking about girl. So I don't know who girl is, but he was thinking of her. I always wanted to ask her out, but she was a freshman and I was a senior. I didn't want everyone to think I was a pedophile or something. That's a stretch. I mean, if you're 17 and she's 15 or I don't know. But there she was, swinging at the playground I passed on the way to my house every day. All right, I take that back. It was the first time we were alone out of school. I gathered up some courage and walked to her. Mind if I take this swing? I asked as I walked slowly toward the swing next to her. She kept her eyes down and her long brown hair waved a little in the wind. She didn't say anything, so I sat down and started swinging a little. She's just a swinging. I wasn't really paying attention, but just as I was about to ask her out, she had snuck up next to me, raked my arm with her sharp nails, screaming something in a foreign language. She stabbed me in the throat with her finger and gave me a creepy doll laugh. I just lay on the little pit under the swing, completely frozen. She skipped away. I think her name was Anne. Wait a minute, dude, you have a crush on her and you're not sure what her name is? This is awful. That night I woke up in cold sweat at 11:59 p.m. Weird, I had thought. I usually slept like a baby until morning. That's when I saw those tendrils swirling just beyond my vision, creating unseen shapes. How do you know they're creating shapes if they're unseen? I threw the blanket over my head, praying it would protect me from whatever monster lurked. It didn't. Okay. I screamed and clawed at my bed while it dragged me toward the edge, slipping off at the last second. Dun dun dun. The slime soaked my legs as I curled up and sobbed as my parents burst in. They tried to comfort me, but I knew. I knew they would never believe me. I knew they thought I had just wet the bed or something. Dude, you're a senior. But I know now I should have told them, at least tried to convince them, because now I have no one to turn to. That was 5 years ago. Every night for fight years, yes, that's what it says, I fought back, screaming at the top of my lungs. I wait every night, wishing for it to finally pull me off and kill me. I wish for death with every step I take toward my dead bed. I set the alarm for 8 every night, hoping that I might not have to be awake to hear it. I decide tonight is the night I will bring it to an end. I bring a big kitchen knife to bed. I slash at the tentacles as they slide up my leg, but the knife passes through it like a shadow, and I cut my leg. It is only they, I realize. The tendrils have always been in my imagination, but I can no longer get rid of them. They have become a dirty, evil part of me, so I keep slashing the knife all over my body until weakness causes my limbs to numb and I drop the knife. Uh, yeah, they need something, Kim. Wow. I lay there, blood flowing from cuts all over my body, and I feel a sense of peace before my eyes fades into everlasting darkness. The end. There was there were no there was no punctuation in that sentence until we got to the period. I lay there, blood flowing from cuts all over my body, and I feel a sense of peace before my eyes fades into everlasting darkness. Well, I'm creeped out, mainly because of the horrible writing. Well, let's say we do this for a minute. How's everybody's week going? Guys working? Let's see. Part 1. I read The Mystery of David Lang. Kim, have you read any of this yet? Do you have like a favorite? Monument to a Mystery. Crappy pasta. Yep. The Restless Dead. I don't know if let's see here. Hmm. Nah, that one doesn't look too good. A Handful of Murder. There's a title. Hmm. Yeah, let's try this one. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Joss. All right. Chapter 20. A Handful of Murder from Stranger Than Science. And remember, these are all authentic and all absolutely true. Just want to make that clear. If the officers from Scotland Yard thought they were engaged in another routine murder case, they could hardly have been further from the truth. The old man whose body was sprawled in front of the fireplace was dead, no doubt about that. Look at that, a comma. They use punctuation. The room, like the body, was quite cold. It was apparent to the boys from Scotland Yard that the victim had been done in by liberal applications of the irons. I don't know what that is. On the question of who had used the weapons, however, they were completely in the dark. Robbery could not be ruled out as a possible motive, though there was little in the shabby elegance of the quarters to indicate any wealth worthy of the name. The suddenly deceased was not known to be a quarrelsome man, and he had no known enemies. Scotland Yard was stumped. As the detectives were bundling up their cameras and measuring tapes and preparing to leave, an impeccably attired young man appeared at the door. Could he be of service? Well, in such cases, you don't overlook anything, not even a fop. Fop. So detectives led the young man into the room where the deed had been done. He glanced around casually and asked if he might examine one of the numerous bloody handprints which marked the walls. Head cushioned in the palm of his hand, he gazed steadfastly at one of the gruesome prints. Then he turned to police and said, "The murderer is a young man, gentlemen. Furthermore, he is well-to-do. He carries a small gold watch in his left front trouser pocket, and he is a near relative of the old gentleman whose body was just taken from this room." The angry Scotland Yard boys were ready to toss this smug dandy out on his ear for wasting their time. But there were a couple of correspondents for the London papers on hand, and they smelled a story. Who was this fancy dresser who presumed to deduce so much from a mere bloody handprint on a grimy wall? Tune back next week. Same bat time. Churro the Great, he told them, as he handed them his lavishly embossed business card. The story made the papers on the following day, and 24 hours later, the extraordinary palmist was back in the headlines, for the police had found their man. The murderer was not only young and well-to-do, but he carried a gold watch in his left front trouser pocket, and he was the son of the murdered man, the near relative whom Cheryl had described so well. In a matter of weeks, Cheryl became the rage of London. Only a few close friends remembered him as Count Louis Hammond. His transformation into a sensational public figure bore little resemblance to the Count. He basked in the spotlight and banked substantial sums each week, the proceeds from his new career of counseling his wealthy clients on their futures. He left England in 1893 for New York, where he established himself in a lavish suite of offices on Park Avenue. Again, success came easily for him, and his clients streamed into his doors, through his doors. It was inevitable that the newspapers should be close behind. A young lady from the New York World inquired whether he would be willing to submit to a series of public tests which the publisher of the paper had in mind. It was a crucial moment for Chero. If he declined the test, he was ruined. If he accepted and failed to convince the skeptics, he would also be ruined. Yet without a moment's hesitation, he accepted the veiled threat of exposure. Yes, Monty, can I help you? I mean, should you get it? I mean, it's nostalgic for me because I had it when I was a little boy, and I love the art bell of it all. The world publicized the test widely, using it as a circulation building stunt. On the day of the test, Cheryl was the calmest person in the room. The test itself consisted of 13 palm prints of 13 different New York citizens. The papers which bore the palm prints bore no identifying marks of any kind. Only the three judges knew whose prints they were, and the judges sat grim-faced and silent, waiting for Cheryl to blunder. Yeah, I do too, Kim. All right. Without hesitation, he picked up print after print, and after a cursory glance, accurately described the persons to whom the prints belonged. But when he reached the 13th and final print, he hesitated. Dropping the print face down on the table, he slowly turned to the judges and said, "Gentlemen, I refuse to identify this print." A ripple of excitement ran through the crowded room. Was he stumped? Well, holding up his hand for silence, Carroll went on, "I refuse to identify this print to anyone but the owner, because it is the mark of a murderer. He will give himself away through his self-confidence and will die in prison in great anguish." Carroll had been playing cat and mouse with the judges. He had scored 100% on the test, for that last print had been of Dr. Henry Mayer, caught when he bragged of his crime, judged guilty and insane. Dr. Mayer died in an institution for the criminally insane. The newspapers were generous in their praise of Chero. His fame spread around the world. His triumphal tour of Europe was highlighted when he predicted in 1897 that Tsar Nicholas would live unhappily, only to lose everything, including his life, as he did in 1917. But his remarkable talents deserted him in 1906, and he retired. Lawsuits plagued him, and a conviction on a charge of mishandling a client's money sent him to prison for 13 months. One morning in 1936, wow, that's 30 years later, police found him lying on the sidewalks of Hollywood, and he died on the way to the hospital, victim of a stroke. Charles claimed that he never understood his strange talent may have been true, for in the final analysis, he became another baffled has-been, a magician who seemed to have lost his magic. But what? Okay, Monty. I don't know. That one was sort of not that great. Kim, did you read this yet? I don't know if you replied to me or not, or if I missed it. I mean, Spies in the Skies. Yeah, let's read that one. Now remember, this was published in '59. By the way, if you have a interest in astronomy, as I do, this is a pretty good little book. Um, Basically, if you only know 10 things about space, make it these 10. It's a fascinating little book. Um, 14 billion years for people short on time. You have your own water, Monty. I'm sorry, Monty he's determined that he's the star of the show. So, all right, this one's titled Spies in the Skies. All over the world, nations are confronted with when did Sputnik go up? Was that 55, something like that? And this was published in '59. So when this was published, the only satellite we had was Sputnik, Russia's Sputnik, which 61. You sure? I thought it was in the 50s. But anyway, it caused a great deal of distress for everyone who wasn't Russia. You don't, maybe you could go over here. Thanks. Good boy. All right, lay down. All right, all over the world, nations are confronted with evidence which indicates that intelligent beings from outer space may already be looking us over. Speaking of that, if you're familiar with Fermi's paradox, which I won't get into right now, Danielle's been watching this show, and I sat down and watched a few episodes with her called Love After Lockup. And I'm watching this show and we're both just cracking jokes this whole time. And 1957. So when this was published, yeah, Sputnik was the only satellite. Anyway, look, what is a nice way to say these people are so, oh my God, they are so dumb. And I'm sitting there watching the show and we're laughing. And I said to her, this right here is the answer to Fermi's paradox. You know, aliens, they see this stuff and they're like, okay, there's no way we're letting these people out of their own solar system so they can infect the rest of the galaxy with their stupidity. Um, could be. All right. All over the world, nations are confronted with evidence which indicates that intelligent beings from outer space may already be looking us over. Alexander the Great was not the first to see them, nor was he the first to find them troublesome. He tells of two strange craft that dived repeatedly at his army until the war elephants, the men, and the horses all panicked and refused to cross the river where the incident occurred. What did the things look like? His historian describes them as great, shining, silvery shields, spitting fire around the rims, things that come from the skies and returned to the skies. Now this is an Art Bell kind of story. Darren, it's called Space 10 Things You Should Know by Dr. Becky Smethurst. Smethurst. All right. At Bonham, Texas in 1873, workers in a cotton field were terrorized by a shiny silver object that came streaking down from the sky at them. It swung around like a great silver serpent, said one witness, and dived at them again and again. A team of horses ran away, and the driver was thrown under the wheels of the wagon and killed. Oh, by the way, uh, Chaz and I briefly talked about this, but Chaz is going to read one Tuesday night when I'm really under the weather. So, or not, maybe I'll just. But yeah, so Chaz, figure out what you want to read sometime in the next month or two, and when you have time, of course, and we'll have Chaz be our guest reader on one Tuesday night. And no, you don't have to pay me $1,000, man. Don't worry about it. And for those of you who do not know, Chaz is an actor, so he will read this stuff a lot better than I can. All right. Did I read this last sentence? A team of horses ran away, and the driver was thrown under the wheels of the wagon and killed. And on the same day, an hour or so after the Bonham incident, the same or a similar thing swooped down from the skies at some Army troops on the cavalry parade ground at Fort Riley, Kansas, and terrorized the horses to such an extent that the cavalry drill ended in tumult. In broad daylight on April 9, 1897, hundreds of thousands of people throughout the Midwest witnessed one of the strangest, unexplained celestial spectacles on record. It was the start of a show that lasted for 7 thrilling days and nights. Whatever the thing was, it was moving at great height. Through telescopes, it appeared to be a cigar-shaped object with broad, stubby wings. At night, it flashed red, green, and white lights. It was seen both day and night from points as far south as St. Louis and as far west as Denver. Astronomers watched it for several days before it vanished as suddenly as it had appeared on April 16th. But it was not gone completely. We should Google all this. In the early morning hours of the 19th of April, 1897, the little town of Sisterville, West Virginia, was aroused from slumber by the frantic blowing of the whistle at the sawmill. The sleepy citizens tumbled from their beds and hurried into the streets to be greeted with a sight that remains a mystery to this day. Overhead, slowly circling in the sky, was some kind of great cigar-shaped construction. All agreed that it made a humming sound. Its brilliant searchlights swept over the countryside, long, dazzling fingers of white light that made the community as bright as midday. I'm not buying it, and you know why? Because nobody took out their cell phone and filmed it. By the way, how many of you have watched the movie It's on Amazon Prime. The Vast of Night. I think that is just one of the creepiest, best UFO related fictional films out there. It's really, really good. Um, all right, well, back to these guys. Those who watched it agreed that it was a mammoth construction, tubular in shape, about 200 feet long, with red and green lights along the sides. Yes, but did it play music? Anything like dun 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 dun? Maybe something like that. After 10 minutes of this meandering, the thing switched off the searchlights, whooshed eastward and vanished, leaving behind a badly frightened community where church attendance reached record proportions in the ensuing weeks. Hmm. There was nothing known to man that could match its performance, for that was 6 years before the Wright brothers dared the winds of Kitty Hawk with their feeble flying machines. Nor was there ever any explanation of the thing that visited Chattanooga one January morning in 1910. This was a cigar-shaped object about 100 feet long, silvery white, glistening. Along its sides there were no wings, nor was there any visible means of propulsion, although many among the thousands who saw it reported that they heard a distinct chugging sound. Well, of course they did. They're in Chattanooga. All right. For those of you who came for the spookiness, I promise we'll do that next week. I will read in the dark. Man, mosquito in here. Whatever it was, it came over the city of Chattanooga at an altitude of about 500 feet, chugging audibly, moving at an estimated 20 miles per hour. Thousands rushed out to see it. After thrilling the citizens of Chattanooga for a little more than an hour, it scudded away, to reappear 15 minutes later over Huntsville, Alabama, about 75 miles away. The following day, it again came down out of the overcast and slowly chugged around over the city of Chugganooga. Sorry, dad. The dad jokes are free. Then, as thousands watched, it rose into the mists over famed Missionary Ridge and vanished forever. It had joined hundreds of its fellow sky voyagers in their strange procedure of appearing briefly and unmistakably before it vanished in the blue. Of more recent vintage was the astounding visit of unidentified flying objects which swarmed in the skies over Washington, D.C. on the night of August 13th, 1952. Exactly. It was the Goodyear blimp or swamp gas. Government censorship kept the story from the public until almost 2 years after the incident itself. Uh-huh. Then an official government publication admitted the truth that 68 unidentified flying objects had hovered and zoomed and flipped around over the nation's capital during that unforgettable night. Under pressure from scientists who suspected the things were spacecraft, the White House had ordered that no hostile action was to be taken against them. They came and they went as they had come, swiftly, silently, and in peace. But where they came from and where they went is a mystery that is stranger than science. There you go. They don't even mention the Roswell thing. Yeah, but Okay. Yeah, I love listening to old recordings of Art Bell. It's just fun, you know. I don't buy it, but it's fun. Yeah, when I first got this book back, oh gosh, 12 or 13 years ago. Of course, the first thing I did, I was reading over it, like I said, nostalgic, and then I was Googling, and I was not surprised to find out that maybe they weren't all true. So on Thursday, I've got a few topics lined up. Same bat time, same bat channel. Um, those of you who have written in, messaged me, emailed me, whatever, and told me how much this community means to you, I really appreciate that. Um, I really do. Uh, if you are not on the mailing list, you should get on that because at most you're going to get 2 to 3 emails a week, and they're just reminders of the podcasts. And that's where I also let people know if I can't make it, which I try not to do. Um, if you're not a Patreon, I would appreciate the help because the Patreons that support me, whether it's $5 or all the way up to the top tier, these are the people who are making sure that all of this continues. That sounds like a maybe flip thing to say, but it's absolutely true. And they're the only reason why I can do this. So that's the long and the short of it. So if you're not a Patreon, hope you consider it. They're even at the bottom level for $5 a month, you get a hell of a lot back. There are a lot of really, if I do say so, some lot of really great Patreon only podcast episodes there. So, by the way, if you are a Patreon, coming next week, we're discussing, the panelists and I are discussing the music of Eric Zahn. And in the last one we did was last week. I can't remember, but I had a few requests for stories, Color Out of Space, and a couple of others, so I jotted those down, and we'll do those. Probably do another 3 or 4 or 5 Lovecraft stories at most, and then we're going to move on to another writer, maybe Arthur Machen or somebody like that, you know. Um, so there you have it. Appreciate you guys. I hope everyone's having a great week. There's Monty's tail on camera there. Hey, buddy. Uh, say hi. Oh, you're a good kitty, aren't you? Yeah. Say hi to Monty. He's my only long hair. Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy. There you go. Got to give the crowd what they want, right? So, anyway, thanks for the support, guys. Thanks for spending part of your Tuesday night with me, and I will see you on Thursday night, right back here, okay? Thanks.